This is The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Roadmap exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Lee Heisman and every week we bring you some of the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs and business owners who are climbing the ladder, scaling their businesses and thinking one day how to exit stage left. We have a very special guest today, also a Cliff Co family member, Jeremy Anderson. Jeremy, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lee.
Jeremy, you're the CEO of the Jeremy Anderson Group.
Yes.
And before we get into some of the juice that we were talking about before,
right.
I want to talk about what is the Jeremy Anderson Group. I see you all over social media.
Right.
The energy is just palpable.
Right.
Tell me about what you do for people.
So we've got a number of different companies. Primarily, I'm a speaker consultant. So I work with some of the top companies in the world, the Ford Motor Company, SpaceX. I have to tell you about that. That was a phenomenal experience. So I work for a lot of the biggest companies in the world, showing their employees and their team members like how to perform at the highest level while keeping things intact at home, right? Because we don't want to be a public success and a private failure.
Wait, so you just don't talk about work?
Oh yeah, no.
You're going to talk about the whole balance with people.
Absolutely. Because I realize when you have more peace on the inside and you've got more peace at home, you're sharper, you got more clarity, you got more depth, you got more insight, you perform at a higher level. So I take more of a holistic approach. So I work with companies and we built a bunch of other companies up underneath our main speakers company and it's been good.
So wait, I'm going to pause you for a moment.
Yeah.
You're speaking to the Ford Motor Company. Mm-hmm. You're speaking to companies like SpaceX.
Mm-hmm. AT&T, yep.
Wait, AT&T, global companies.
Absolutely.
You're on a center stage educating their executives.
Correct.
On what? Just talk about what you talk about.
So I have a framework I created called occupational integrity. So occupational integrity, oftentimes people are trying to figure out how do they go to the next level. So I'll show them how to operate with integrity at the highest level, but not just within your occupation, within all the spaces you occupy as a human.
Oh my gosh.
So occupational integrity, you occupy the space as a husband, you occupy the space as a father, as a CEO, as a businessman, as an employee, as a team member, as an executive coach, like you operate in these different spaces. So how do you operate at the highest level in the spaces you occupy?
Wow.
So it's more a holistic approach.
So when you do these engagements, is
Yeah.
it just you? Do you do privates with people? Do you do personal consulting, or is it only speaking engagements?
So at this time here, primarily only speaking engagements. I do some one-on-one sometime. I do some executive coaching, but primarily you put me in front of whether it's 10,000 people or 1,200 people, and you give me the microphone and let me cook.
Well, you're in front of one, and I'm already cooking right now, so I like this a lot. So
Yeah.
a little bit more about your success, because we're going to come back, but back in 2018, you started to hit the seven-figure mark. Is that correct?
For sure.
Talk about this.
So I've been speaking since 2010. So I'm in year 15 now, and I experienced quite a bit of success. And then after like third or fourth year, I got to six figures a year. And then the fifth, sixth, seventh year, I got to six figures a quarter. And then in 2018, we hit a milestone and we began to make seven figures a year.
It's amazing.
And we've been scaling from there. And so what the great thing is I'm able to, because I built a strong brand and I'm adding this value and I'm writing books and I'm traveling the world, I'm able to increase my price, of course, the demand is higher.
Yep.
I teach my students, you can't make demand if you're not in demand.
And
so I probably take 5% of the requests that come in.
Fair.
Which allows me to be more present at home with my family.
Yeah.
So I can actually practice what I
So you can
preach.
select who you work with.
Absolutely.
And you can select the areas where you put your energy
Absolutely.
now. But I'm going to go here. It wasn't always like that. So for viewers out there and people that listen to you, I'm just listening to you. We spent a few minutes together before.
Right.
I'm spending time with you now. And to me, and I'm sure all the viewers out there, this is just easy for Jeremy. Like it just seems, it's true.
Right.
It seems effortless. This is natural.
Right.
I can't do what he does. Look at who he is. I'm having tons of struggles.
Yeah.
Is that the truth?
No, it's not the truth. It's actually the furthest from the truth. Lee, I really believe with every fiber of my being that every single human has the potential to do absolutely amazing, mind-blowing things. Like when people look at my life now, when they come to my home and they see how I'm living, they're like shocked and amazed. I'm like, don't be surprised at where I am now. Be surprised at what I've had to overcome.
Well, explain that. Talk about what you've overcome.
So my father was never present in my life. My mom had me when she was 16 years old. I dealt with a decade of drug and alcohol abuse, low self-esteem, low worth, getting arrested, getting in fights at schools.
And when you say drug and alcohol abuse, you're not speaking of family members, you're speaking of yourself.
Of myself, right?
It's
I was trying to
amazing.
mask the pain that I was dealing with. Lee, I went to 3 different schools for the 9th grade. I just kept failing and getting kicked out over and over and over again. And finally, at some point, at some moment, something clicked and I stopped being a victim I started being a victor. I started believing I could do great
When did it
things.
click, Jeremy?
I would probably say I was about 17. This was my third school for the ninth grade. And I realized, like, I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm not going to do 4 years for the ninth grade. Like, I've got to figure it out. And I just looked in the mirror one day and I took ownership. And I said, you know what? I'm not blaming anybody else for my failure. I'm not giving them credit for my success. I take ownership in my life. I've met too many amazing people who have accomplished amazing things that have painful, challenging stories. I can bounce back. And I just took ownership. I just got to a point, Lee, where I was like, I'm not blaming nobody else. If I'm a failure, it's because I chose to be a failure. And I put that work in, caught up with my right grade, went to college, got a bachelor's degree, went to grad school, got a master's degree, began to write books and travel and speak. And I now reverse engineer the mindset I went through to go to the next level and begin to work with schools and universities. And after I started one company, the second and the third company, I transitioned years ago into the corporate space.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
So for people out there listening that maybe failed the ninth grade or their failure of the ninth grade the first time, and then the second time, who says, this is hopeless right now. They didn't hit the third time that you did. What was that inflection point where you then, at that moment where it was the third time and you said, I'm not going to do this, was there any other factors? Was it the fact that you just continued to fail and realize I'm in this pit and I'm not going to get out of it?
It was a combination. I had a group of teachers who believed in me. So I had one teacher, I realized she was diagnosed with cancer, but she was still coming to school. And I'm like, you should be getting chemo. You should be getting treatment. You're fighting for your life. She looked me in the face and said, Jeremy, you're fighting for your life too. I saw the humanity.
What was her name?
Miss Caldwell. I saw the humanity.
Shout out to Miss Caldwell. I had to give her a little bit of love to her.
I saw the humanity inside of her. I had another teacher that was dealing with divorce. Another teacher just buried her husband. Like, they were dealing with real life, but they showed up for me every single day. And at that moment, it's like the scales fell from my eyes. And I saw, like, they don't have to be here. They chose to be here, and that made my worth and value rise.
What school was this?
This was at Huntsville High.
Huntsville
High, Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama.
Yes.
Oh my
it just
gosh.
shifted everything for me. I said, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? And so I began to believe.
Did you still have a good relationship with your mother at that time?
Yes, I did. Yes, yeah, I did. And that's my girl, man. I love her so much. And so she went back to work. She went back to school. She got her GED. She got her bachelor's. She got her master's degree. And she was the head of this company here in Atlanta for HR for this trucking company. Wow. So she was 6 figures, doing very well. And then years ago, unfortunately, she had a stroke.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so she's doing better now, but she's not able to work.
So she's still with us today?
Yes, she's still with us. And
yeah, but I'm sure you're taking care of her.
You know her, brother.
So the school that you went to, the School of Hard Knocks, is what it sounds like. Is that correct?
For sure.
How important is those challenges? Because look, you see people that don't have challenges. You know, we always joke and people always say, you know, I'm unhappy here today, and this is the best time for human beings in society in general, right? Just having running hot water, having air conditioning. You know, and some people are still struggling with some of the basic needs, and I think everybody should have basic needs met. And in this country, we're very, very fortunate. Across the board, some people don't even have that. But with that in mind, how in today's society with the young individuals, the generations of younger people, because I've got you by a decade, but we're still seasoned. How do you guide people that haven't had those challenges, that have had a little bit of an easier path? How do they run through the School of Hard Knocks if they don't have an education in the School of Hard Knocks?
You know, I've realized in time over life, everybody is going through something. So you might not have been in poverty, you might not have been homeless, you might not have been abused or molested, but you're dealing with some form of depression, some form of insecurity, some form of anxiety, low self-worth, you got your heart broke. Like, people are always going through something. So when I grab that microphone and I speak, I'm showing you how to find that peace within. I'm showing you how to find the healing within. I'm showing you how to take ownership of your life and how to operate at the highest level in all the different spaces that you occupy. Because I believe it's possible for someone to be an amazing mom, an amazing wife, and an amazing executive and employee. Like, I believe that. I don't think you should just win in one area. And I can't tell you how many teacher of the years, I can't tell you how many salesmen of the years that have said, Jeremy, I excel. I'm a star at work, but I suck at home.
Yeah.
And so I'm showing individuals how to win in every aspect of life.
You know, I've said that for years. Gosh, it's a joke, but I would always say with all my businesses for over 30 years, 35 years now, you know, when you focus so much on your work, and your most important client is your significant other at home or your children at home.
Correct.
And then I always joke that I'm glad you landed that particular contract, but you're going to lose more money when you get a divorce. So if you, other than your emotional side, choosing the right direction, you know, you're thinking of all the work on this end, but you might lose your biggest client on the other end. It costs you a lot more money and a lot more emotional stress with that. So go back to some of the techniques, because you also, it isn't just you, Jeremy. You actually partner with someone in speaking engagements. You have four different speaking programs you speak about. Is that correct? Can you talk in detail about that?
So I've got the Jeremy Anderson Group. Primarily, that's me speaking when I'm going and doing consulting, speaking, working with companies or organizations. Then I have the Next Level Brand Studio. So we've got a whole
And you partnered
marketing
with someone for that, correct?
Yeah. So we have the Next Level Brand Studio that does your website, your EPK, your logo, your business card, like everything that you need to build out your business. We have that company. Then we have a Next Level Students curriculum. So we've got a K through 12 character curriculum in schools across America.
Talk about how did this even start, where you started expanding into these other businesses?
When I first started speaking, I was speaking in middle schools and high schools. And the thing I would get from everybody is like, man, Jeremy, we wish we could keep you here. And I'm like, well, I can't, because I got to travel the world. But I realized I could create a curriculum that could really speak to the hearts and minds of these kids and help them make responsible decisions, help them make good choices, help them excel in school and value education and anti-bullying and low self-worth, and really speak life into them.
So, you know, what I love about what you're telling me is your engagements are not transactional.
No.
Because if you're speaking somewhere and then you leave, that was just a transaction. They had a good experience for that hour or two. And unfortunately, whatever they remember, they're going to keep. But you offer different services that make it more of a relationship, a continued relationship. I interrupted your description.
Yeah, but I want to make the biggest impact. And so I realized, like, yeah, I could come in, you know, twice a year and speak and motivate you and get you riled up and you're excited and crying and you're feeling all these great vibes. But I can also give you something that you can read and you can hear from me, and I can have an impact on you on a daily basis.
So these curriculum pieces, you talked about the K through 12 curriculum. Are you doing videos? Do people log in?
We have video series, we have it digital, and we have physical books.
Wow.
Because there are some schools that say we don't do consumable books, it's all digital online. And then there are some schools that's not up to the digital tech day and age, and they're still using physical books. Wow. So we've got them both.
So I interrupted your multiple stages. So you have that as well, the curriculum.
And then the fourth one is our Next Level Speakers Academy.
So
and
talk
that's
about
why
that
I partnered with Dr. Eric Thomas.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
so
ET.
explain how this happened.
So
Wait, does he phone home? Was he giving some Reese's Pieces? Is that what you're saying?
So I've actually known ET, Dr. Eric Thomas, for over 30 years. I mean, he is big time, bro. He's right there with Tony Robbins.
You know that half the group here under 25 years old might not even know what my reference was. As you and I touch fingers.
I still say ET phone home when I call
Yeah, 100%,
like,
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, he's charging $200,000. Like, he is major. And so I've known him all these years. He actually had a speakers training program and called me 2.5 years ago and said, Jeremy, you got your program, I've got my program. He literally said, yours is on the next level.
No.
He was like, what do you think about us joining forces?
But wait, did he say that before or after you called the name Next Level?
Oh, yeah, no, we were already calling the Next Level.
Okay.
But he was like, pun intended.
He
was really saying yours is like on that next level. Like,
but
yours
see, that's
is
the
above
level
and
of,
beyond.
when you deal with a sophisticated individual like Dr. E.T., you know, people like that understand it's not an ego situation.
Sure.
Yours is better than mine. Let's use that.
100%.
That is beautiful.
And I had one request. I said, before our attorneys, because though he's like a big brother, a mentor, I've known him for 30 years, great relationship, godfather to my children.
No way.
We still have our attorneys.
Okay, fair.
Because it's business, right?
Yeah.
It's business. We want to make sure it's clean. And so I said, I've got one request. Before our attorneys get together, I worked real hard for my name. He was like, man, I don't have no ego. We can kill my name. I'll come on and adopt your name, and we continue on with the Next Level Speakers Academy.
You knew it was match made in heaven then.
Just like that.
So what does that do? What does that academy
So
do?
we've got thousands of individuals in our community that are 6- and 7-figure speakers now that we've trained, and we do their website, we do their branding, we do their logo, their EPK, everything that I built over my 15-year experience.
Hold on, for viewers that don't know this, what's EPK stand for?
Electronic Press Kit.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, so the electronic electronic press kit.
Yeah, once you start throwing acronyms out, like we know you're at a different level here, but you start throwing acronyms out. Okay.
So we the full package, right? And so we literally create the full package for these individuals.
And part of that is not only creating the package, but do they have to take the other sessions to learn how to present?
Yes. There's coaching, there's mentorship, there are master classes, there are mastermind weekends. We actually put people on stage. We give them live feedback to coaching.
So where will you talk about a mastermind weekend if someone is interested in that?
So we have them here in Atlanta 3 times a year, and then we do one in Cancun in November.
Okay, fair.
And it's a 2-day weekend with me, E.T., our whole team of coaches, and individuals come in literally from all over the globe.
What are we talking, a group of 15, 20, 100, 200?
I would probably say we average about 70 to 80 people.
So you have 70 to 80 people. You got to coordinate a whole weekend.
Correct.
That makes sure
and it's
that
very intimate.
Yes.
So we go to some of the best restaurants, Fogo de Chao, like we eat really good.
Yeah.
And we put them on stage and we coach them and we break into sessions, and it's a lot more intense with those masterminds.
Fair.
It's a pretty awesome experience. And so I realized years ago that my goal in life, I just felt like, I was just like, my goal, my purpose isn't just to be the best speaker. It is to be known for training and equipping and mentoring the next generation of
not
speakers.
transactional.
That's
that you're creating truly like a lifestyle brand.
That's
it feels like
That's
to me, from what you're telling me, feels like a lifestyle brand.
That's it. I just want to. I am where I am because I want to be a blessing to as many people. I want to add as much value as possible, and I want to help as many people live a life of purpose. At the end of the day, that's who I am, and that's what I do.
You're inspirational to me. Now I know as we're wrapping up, I love the success, and unfortunately, I'm sorry you had to go through all of that misery and pain and suffering. But I don't think you get to where you are today without that.
Absolutely.
It just makes you better, right?
Yes,
and you're right. We
sure.
all have our own suffrage, no question. But I love how transparent you are about
Can
that.
I say one more thing?
Please, you can say whatever you want.
I have a counselor, and I have a marriage coach.
Get out of here.
So I just want individuals to know I've got a counselor I meet with on a regular basis. I've got my own therapist, and me and my wife get marriage counseling just to make sure we're as strong as we can be. So I don't want somebody to think I'm just some alien superhero. It's like, no, I've got issues and insecurities.
Well,
like
they only think
else.
that looking at your muscles. So let's be crystal clear. They already
Hey,
that's
you
already
take that
thought.
blazer
That's
off,
right.
let's see.
They already thought that.
But I really want them to know, like, Lee, like, everybody needs help. And I'm not ashamed to say I'll get the help, and that's what's helped me get to where I am in life.
So let me ask you 2 questions, and again, as we're wrapping up, I got to throw some hard questions at you. I love that you get the counseling yourself, because you can't sharpen steel without steel as well. No question about it. So you're a motivational speaker. Rarely, I can see you're not in a bad mood much, and you can probably figure your way out through any issue, right? When's the last time, business-wise, you've run into an issue that you have not been able to muscle through?
That's the story
Doesn't
of my
happen.
life.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Except with your wife. Tell me the last time you ran into a situation you could not muscle through with your significant other.
So Tracy and I told me something that really broke my heart.
So by the way, the best part is you hadn't even hesitated.
Oh yeah,
you
I got a long list.
I didn't prep you with this question. I just made me think of it.
Not prep me. I've got a long list. So in the marriage counseling session recently, my wife said, honey, I'm 10 years tired. And I said, 10 years tired? What does that mean? She says, babe, I've been tired for the last 10 years. And I'm like, well, why don't you say something? She was like, I tried to. And I said, honey, she was like, it's always another program. It's always another foundation. It's always another business idea. It's always another marketing plan. And I said, but honey, to my defense, I don't do anything without you signing off on it. Like, I asked you, does this make sense? Does this generate revenue? Is this a good business move? She said, yes, but you never asked me, do I have the bandwidth for it? You never asked me, is this something we should do in Q3 or Q4 or next year? I said, yeah, this makes sense. And you said, okay, run the play. And man, with tears in her eyes, I was just like, man, babe, I'm sorry.
So what do you do now? What do you do?
So now I say, is this a good idea? Yes. Does it make money? Yes. Is it a good marketing plan? Yes.
When?
When's the best time?
When? The question is when.
And then she says, thank you. And I'm like, I'm winning. You know what I'm saying? And so she's like, maybe next month, or can we table this for next year, or maybe Q3.
Oh, I love this.
And the part of me is just like, I want to do it now, but I have to say, okay, because I want my wife to know I see her, and I hear her, and I value her. And so I'm like, if you want to wait, then I trust your judgment.
So this is beautiful. I'm going to ask this question nicely as we wrap up. So how many years have you been compromised? I mean, married. No, but that, I always say the most successful marriage, I would never say I've been married 13 years. I always say I've been compromised 13 years.
There we go.
Because you have to compromise.
February of this year made 15 years.
15 years of compromise.
Yes, that's it.
Or marriage. And that's what life is about.
Absolutely.
I love that. All right, so Look, I'm gonna give you the moment. Like, you know it. You know your camera.
Yeah.
How do people get in touch with you to use every one of your services?
Yeah, so main website, jeremyanderson.org, jeremyanderson.org. If you're interested in me speaking, if you're interested in being a speaker, jumping on stage with us, having me coach or mentor you, nextlevelspeakersacademy.com. Just like that.
Make a note of that. Ladies and gentlemen, my gosh.
Yes.
All right, so I'm making a note of that. Yeah, and I love that you say, if you're interested in me working with you. Of course we all are. There's no question. Guys,
There we go.
Jeremy Anderson, thank you so much today.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. I hope this show was as insightful for you as it was for me. We hope to see you again next week on another episode of The Roadmap.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.